Hi Siri, I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of Pod Up with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm going to go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We got a good show lined up. We'll have JC here in a minute. We'll do some Peachland Dental picks for the Thursday night games tomorrow. College football really cranks up starting tomorrow. And then we'll have Mike Morgan from ESPN join us at about 8:25-ish or so. Okay, so let's go to the Titan Number Hotline. We're joined by JC. Good morning, JC. How are you?
Hey, good. Thank you. A little late night last night. I got caught watching the U.S. Open tennis on ESPN last night. You know, we don't talk much tennis, but this is the biggest tournament, I think, for these players during the year. It's the one I think the most say they like the best. It's got the biggest stadiums, biggest crowds. And so I catch myself watching this stuff, QB. Is that crazy? I mean, a lot of these players have names you have trouble pronouncing, but it's unbelievable how good it is when you watch tennis, if you like tennis. So I was watching that, and I was caught up late last night watching that. And I'm a little groggy this morning, QB, but I've got my little energy drink going here and my Taco Casa cup that I got from Tuscaloosa, Alabama in the 80s. It's still here with me. So there you go.
I just have a hard time watching tennis.
Yeah. Well, men's tennis is so different than women's to me.
They're both. I have a hard time watching both because I mean, I get it, but it's like, I don't know. I can't explain it. So we'll move on from there. I got something here I took a screenshot of, JC, if I can find it, all these damn apps. Okay, real quick before we jump into football.
All right.
You saw the new additions to the Tour 54, right?
I did, but again, this is something I don't follow. So you don't follow.
So basically it's Cam Smith, who's the premier player out of this group, Mark Leishman, Joaquin Neiman, Cameron Tringali, Anarabi Lahari, and Harold Varner III. Did you see Harold Varner's letter to his fans?
What did he tell all his? It
was actually very good. He's like, look, I'm being honest. He goes, I just set up my kids, their kids, everybody in the Varner's family for life. He goes, I love the PGA Tour, but it was a great letter. But you know, it is what it is. So did you see the money? Did you see what Hideki Matsuyama turned down?
No, what he turned out?
$400 million.
Yeah, it's probably because after he won the Masters, they paid him $1 billion in Japan in some form or fashion. But I hear you, QB. They want to, you got a real conflict between players that want to compete against the world's best and players who need to set up 3 generations of their families with a lump sum payment. And so, it's tough. It's a tough call. If you're in that position, you have to ask yourself, how would you act? And it's difficult because Rory McIlroy wants to compete against the best, and Harold Varner wants to set up 3 generations of his family. So it's a tough deal. But here's what I'm thinking: the lasting power of the Live Tour, I don't think is going to be there because I don't think it's going to create the interest domestically in this country that is going to be required to hold sponsorships. And the Saudi Arabians are throwing money at this because oil prices are near $100, but they're coming down. So this won't last forever, QB. I just don't believe it will.
No. All right. The text line is working sometimes and sometimes it's not. We've revamped the show. Text line's working is a process here. So bear with us. But we did just get a text. It's from an anonymous texter who said, QB, did you see that your favorite football talking head, Paul Feinbaum, has predicted the upset of Utah on Saturday in the Swamp? I hope he's right. I definitely hope he's right that the Gators roll out of there with the victory.
Well, it would be the biggest story of the weekend. I think that and maybe 1 or 2 other games give you the best games of the weekend, even though there's a bunch of good games. Florida, Utah is at the top of the roster, if you ask me, just because of the conference.
I want to talk quarterbacks here. I saw a power ranking. This is the week one quarterback power ranking, which means I guess leading into week one. It was done by On3 Sports, which is one of the newer ones out there that a lot of the writers and publishers and all that have switched over. It's the guy that started 24/7 and all that stuff. He sold it and started a new one. Here's their top 10. I'm going to go through them real quick, JC, and then I want you to comment on them.
Sure.
What you think.
Yeah. Okay.
Bryce Young at 1, CJ Stroud at 2, Grayson McCall from Coastal Carolina 3, Caleb Williams number 4, Hendon Hooker 5, Dylan Gabriel 6, Devin Leary 7, Tyler Van Dyke 8, Cameron Rising from Utah number 9, and Stetson Bennett number 10.
Wow.
Anything surprise you there?
Well, I think the number 3 guy from Coastal Carolina, I know
he's a really good player, though.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt he's a really good player. Not sure he's the 3rd best in the country, though. But I'll tell you, there's going to be
I don't really know if they're saying I don't really know a whole lot. Somebody sent me this. It just says week 1 quarterback power rankings.
Okay.
So I don't know what's involved in the rankings.
So he may have, a very good week this week. There's other guys, though, that you're going to hear about that are not on that list, including like maybe the quarterback, whoever the first of 2 is from Michigan. He may have a big weekend. I think Clifford from Penn State. Did you mention him? I can't remember if you mentioned him.
No, Sean Clifford. But he does nothing for me.
He does nothing. Well, he's going to have a tough game, a very tough game to do something for you at Purdue this weekend. So that's tomorrow. That's tomorrow night. So that is I think that's a name that you could hold on to. I also, we don't know how good or bad Quinn Ewers is out of Texas, but people are pretty happy with what they're seeing out of him, at least up to this point, which I don't know what that is, how you qualify that or quantify that. I think Caleb Williams has got the chance to be electric at Southern Cal because of who's calling the plays for him and also because of his ability to run and pass. Dual threat quarterbacks mean everything, QB. What I'm going to ask you is, knowing that Utah's probably going to have 8 in the box with a single high safety in this game Saturday night, Florida is going to run the ball. It's going to be just basically a decision on who wants it more, I think, up front. What do you think about that? I mean, that's what Florida's going to do. We all know it. That's what defense is going to probably do against Florida. We all know that. What do you think? I mean, if the defense—
It could be a fast game. It could be 2 running teams. I can tell you that.
If the defenses want to take chances with 1 safety and 8 guys up front, then, I mean, that's how you're going to defend Florida. And then
JC, well, first of all,
what?
It depends on the formation. You can't put 8 guys in the box if you're lined up in 4 wides.
I know, but Florida's going to run the football. I don't think
they're going to run it out of 4 wides a lot.
Okay, well then, if they do that, and they run it a lot, then it's still going to determine what defense.
What they're going to do is they're going to force us. They're going to say, "Can you beat us throwing the football?" Is what they're going to say.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. Penn State or Utah's going to take chances that way, and that's what I think we're going to see against the Gators a bunch this year. And I think Florida's going to. Yeah, you say they're going to run it. I get it, but he's going to throw it 20 times. I bet. What do you think?
I would hope so. I mean, if you don't throw it, I don't know a college football team that throws it less than 20 times.
No, that's true.
Unless you're Air Force or Navy.
Well, okay, maybe 25, 30 times, but dual threat quarterbacks. So that's Southern Cal. That's just about everybody in America. It really is nowadays.
Okay, Russell asked here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law. Well, first of all, let me get to Joseph's first. He says, "Have y'all seen Dion's comments? He's not happy. Apparently, they're having water issues in Jacksonville. There's serious water issues in the state of Mississippi."
Well, you know what? The people you elect have a lot to do with what you get. And right now, Jackson, Mississippi is suffering from a flood and lack of investment. So take it for what it's worth, folks.
Russell says, if we do start out on the right foot and win Saturday, what are you guys thinking realistically riding into Jacksonville? Kentucky follows next week, a trip to – is he talking – he's jumping towards the Georgia game? Look.
Don't do that. Don't do that. I mean, don't get caught with that kind of stuff. Come on, Georgia.
Here's exactly – I mean, I've talked about it on the show for the last 2 weeks. A person that I trust and knows football made the greatest point. And this is my point right here. If we beat Utah, it's now everybody thinks we're going to win the SEC. and you could easily lose the next 2 weeks. You can lose to Utah, and people are like, "Oh boy, here we go again." But then you can beat Kentucky and Tennessee. So every game is different. We don't know anything until we see what happens. But
Florida's that team. Florida's that team that nobody in America is really sure of, and I've heard that from 5 different guys, QB, 5 different people, and nobody has any inside real knowledge about it. I mean, you've gone to practice, a couple of your friends have,
but going to practice does you nothing because practices are scripted. Yeah. So when JC is playing quarterback, we are scripting it for you to have success. Okay. That because mentally we want you to think you're performing well, making good reads, good throws, or whatever. That happens at every campus. Okay. So it's hard to tell, when they run the cards for the defense, if the scout team is dominating the scout team, the first team defense, you got serious issues. But it doesn't happen that way because they are calling the perfect defense for that play on that card that the scout team is running. So you don't know until you play a football game. And I know a lot. The excitement comes from 2 things, right, JC? New coach,
yeah,
and Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson, and a 0, no wins, no losses. Everybody starts the same right now, so we're all in the same spot. But if you want to bring up the University of Georgia, all you really should be talking about is their game with Oregon and whether or not they cover 17 points. That's what I'm thinking about when I think of Georgia right now, and the fact that they play the Gators on my birthday. So that's always my birthday weekend, the Florida-Georgia weekend, Georgia-Florida weekend. It's a happening, but man, I can't think about that right now. All I'm thinking about is white and red teams going to be rolling through here.
Did you see the uniforms they're wearing? They're wearing the throwbacks. They're pretty sweet. The ones they wore in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah. Okay, so I can get into that, but I like them. They're good. I like to see how Florida can match up against a real challenge and not somebody to scrimmage with. We're going to have a lot of scrimmage games this weekend, but we're going to have some good ones too.
Yeah, text here from an anonymous texter. I guess when the text machine ain't working, everything is anonymous.
Let me ask you this: if you have an anonymous texter, are they texting you or the text line?
No, they're typing them our text line. Says our size advantage with our big wide receivers and their little corners could really help us. They got a really good secondary, by the way, folks.
Yeah, I mean they're good on the corners, man. Did we have some real big wide receivers, QB size advantages? Really?
Well, they have some. Most of their DBs are like 5'10", 5'11", which is kind of. I mean, we got some 6'3" receivers, but if you look, most corners are like 5'10" to 6 foot.
Yeah, they're not tall. Yeah.
So, yeah, So anyway, all right. Matt says, "What uniforms are we wearing?" I would assume we wear our traditionals. I sure hope we do.
They got to be in blue with white pants. They have to. Yeah. They will be. They will wear blue with white pants, same old helmet. Off we go. By the way, speaking of helmets, QB, I got it. I liked what Vanderbilt showed us last week. Changing that logo, I think it works.
Well, it looks like they stole Villanova's logo.
Well, they can steal it.
I think Villanova's going to throw a lawsuit at them.
Okay. Yeah, I liked it. It's a clean look for me. Vanderbilt, man. Yeah.
No, it's a good-looking helmet. There's no question about it. Are you in the market to buy or sell a home? Doreen Weeby, a realtor with Caldwell Banker, M. Parrish, will provide you a fast, friendly, and reliable service. Call her today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. All right, JC, let's do our Peachland Dental Thursday night picks. Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. All right, what games are we picking? I'm gonna write them down. I'm 0 for so far.
All right, so I'm 2-1. You're 0-3. We're just get started with 5 games, which include 4 tonight, 1 tomorrow.
No, there's no games tonight.
I'm sorry, Thursday, and then 1 on Friday because I don't want to get this Friday game mixed in with the Saturday games that we're going to pick on Friday. So I've got 5 for us, and it starts with a great game that hasn't been played in over a decade. I think it's been a decade. 2 quarterbacks that could really give us something because, we're talking about quarterbacks, Keaton Slovis for Pittsburgh, along with JT Daniels for West Virginia. And it's called the Backyard Brawl. Huge game between 2 campuses within an hour and a half of each other. in Morgantown and in Pittsburgh. This game is at Pittsburgh, and West Virginia is catching 7.5 points. Big 12 against ACC. First time these teams have met. The fans love it because it's a real rivalry game between two campuses that are close to each other. You've got the defending ACC champions and West Virginia. I got 7.5 points is what West Virginia is catching in this game, QB.
Mm-hmm.
And this game is at 7 o'clock on ESPN tomorrow night. What are you going to go with?
I like Pitt. I like Pat Narduzzi. They're your defending champs in the ACC, I believe.
Yes, they are.
They have a lot of dudes coming back. They got another transfer quarterback. This is the battle of USC transfer quarterbacks. JT Daniels has done absolutely nothing anywhere he's ever played. It seems like that guy has been in school for about 7 years.
And he's always
I'm taking the Pitt Panthers.
Okay, you're laying the 7.5, and I understand that, but I'm going to take the points with West Virginia. So
you're gonna rely on JT Daniels winning you a football game and keeping it within a touchdown.
Well, last time I checked, he was doing fine at Georgia until he got hurt.
He was?
Yeah, he was doing fine. I mean, he wasn't. Listen, I think he was their guy, and then he gets hurt, and that was the end of that. Let's go to turn the channel if you don't want to watch that game, and you can watch at 7 o'clock on Fox. Penn State and the aforementioned Sean Clifford, who you're not impressed with, against Purdue and a 6-year starting quarterback with Jeff Brom calling plays on the sideline. Purdue is at home, and I hate laying points on the road in conference games, even though this is the first game of the year. Nobody really knows anything. But Purdue's catching 3.5, and I can't ignore that. James Franklin, to me, has just been an average coach, somewhat of a perennial disappointment QB. James Franklin gets 10-year extensions. He gets all this money, and Penn State is an 8-4 team, 7-5 team, 6-6 team every year. I want the 3.5 at home. I want Brom. I want his quarterback, and I want Purdue.
I think Jeff Brom's the best play caller in all of America. It's not even close. And I like Purdue.
Okay,
I'll leave it at that.
We're both going to take the Boilers there to check.
I don't think anybody calls plays like Jeff Brom. There's three teams in America that have vertical passing games.
Yeah,
like Spurrier.
Yes.
One is Purdue.
Yes.
The other is Ohio State, and the other is Alabama. Most teams throw horizontal, and they'll go vertical some, but I'm talking majority of their base principles are a vertical passing game.
I think you can throw Dave Clawson's Wake Forest team in that.
That is not vertical passing.
They go downfield, bro. I've seen
JC. They do the RPO stuff and then throw it. That's not what I'm talking about. That's tricky.
You're really worried about Wake Forest's quarterback running the ball?
Yeah, because they run it a lot, but Wake Forest's starting quarterback's out for the year. So,
well, Clawson.
I'm talking about concepts.
Yeah.
We'll teach you one day. We'll get you on the board and explain it to you.
You don't really have to give me a degree, okay? I've watched this crap for about 35 years.
I just told you. You just told me Wake Forest has a vertical downfield passing game. They don't.
They did last year. Yes, hell they did.
No, you're just throwing go routes. That's not what I'm referring to. I just said concepts of vertical passing game. It's totally different.
Right. Okay. And post patterns and such. I get it.
It's concepts mean there's multiple routes and multiple things being done. Okay, they ain't doing that at Wake Forest. Trust me.
So you don't think Dave Clawson is that type of guy?
I think he's a good football coach, but he is not a vertical. His offense is not vertically. Look, I will draw it up next time I see you. I will explain it to you.
We've got two SEC teams playing at home this weekend, and I tonight or tomorrow night. Gosh, I'm getting the days are running together on me. But I've took them because there's these other games that we have on Thursday night really don't give you much in terms of lines, for that matter. We're not going to do Minnesota and New Mexico State. We're not going to do Northern Arizona and Arizona State. So we're going to do Missouri and La Tech. And that game, is Skip Holtz still at La Tech, QB?
No, he coached he won a championship in the USFL. So he's no longer there. I don't know who their coach is.
Well, they are getting 20.5 on the road at your favorite stadium in the SEC, Faurot Field. So you love that that environment up in Columbia. It's raucous. And Missouri is having to lay 20.5 points to La Tech. What do you got?
I'll take the Bulldogs.
Okay.
I'm not a believer in Missouri. Although Missouri could roll them. Who knows?
Yeah, I will as well. I'll take the 20.5. And then another one, Tennessee is at home, starting it up. High expectations in Knoxville, QB. 35 points to Ball State. And Ball State is one of those MAC teams. So Tennessee.
Ball State can throw it around now. I'm taking Ball State.
It's a lot. Okay. I'm going to take Tennessee. The line opened at 31. It went up to 35. They should win by 40-something. Illinois on Friday is at home. This is a 1-0 team under Brett Bielema. It's a conference game on the road at Indiana, catching 3. Indiana, big disappointment last year. Well, the honeymoon for that coach, Tom Hall, I think is over. And they're a 3-point favorite against a team that's already played a game and won it. I'm going to take the team that's already played a game and won it. I'm going to take Illinois +3.
That makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
So I'll take Indiana.
You don't have to take Indiana, QB. I mean,
no. I'm saying it makes no sense that Illinois is getting points from Indiana. You see what I'm saying? Makes zero.
No, I agree. That's kind of hard to say. So those are our 5, and then on Friday we'll get into the weekend and the bigger games.
Okay, before we let you go and get to Mike Morgan, we got a couple Facebook Lives to get to here, right here. There's a bunch of them. I'm going to pick a few here. Ted says, if AR gets dinged for a few plays, who's the next man up? I just can't believe he will play the whole game. I think he's going to play the whole game. It would not surprise me if Kyle Engel, the walk-on, is the backup for this game. But I've never – I mean, I know he's been hurt, but I've never heard people worry so much about somebody getting hurt. You just got to go play. I mean, he's 240 pounds. He shouldn't get hurt. All right? Let's say that.
Right.
Chris says, can Utah stop Anthony? BYU's QB torched Utah last year. Speed may be the difference if Anthony gets the sideline. I don't know. When did Utah play BYU? They played them early in the year or
I think
late
they
in the
did
year?
it. If I had my thing in front of me, they played them early, and I want to say BYU beat them, and that was when they were 1-2. Utah started off the
Is that when Charlie Brewer was the quarterback?
Yeah, I think that's right. So they were 1-2, and if I'm wrong, I apologize for that. But they didn't bring in the current guy until the 4th game, and then they started winning. So, but Charlie Brewer didn't play defense either, and Charlie, so I think the defense. Look, I think we're going to see quite a bit of points on Saturday night, QB. But I don't. Oh, you don't. I
think it's going to be low scoring. JB says Western Carolina throws it vertical. Yes, Kerwin does. You're exactly right. I left them all. I don't think they're not a Power 5 school, but they throw vertical concepts. There's no question. Let's see. Devin says Utah's coach said they have not had live contact practice or scrimmages this year because they have so many people coming back and didn't want to risk injury. I think this helps us. Your thoughts? I don't know. I don't believe that though. They had to have some type of scrimmage. They may not take people to the ground, but look, here's the deal. The Gators have a very good chance of winning this game, but I think too many people are looking at the name that they don't follow football, just think it's Utah. I don't know. I mean, I just get that thought all the time from people. They're Utah. They're from the Pac-12. I'm like, yeah, but be careful, folks. Be careful.
I look at the teams that bring back players that were effective. And Utah has plenty of those. And they're bringing back a lot of guys that beat Oregon twice last year, won a conference. It's just not going to overwhelm Utah. I don't think Utah is going to walk in here and go, my God, how do we win in here? Look at this place. Gee whiz. It's so big and it's going to get so loud. That's not going to affect them at all.
All right, JC, we got our picks. We got to take a break, get to Mike Morgan. We'll talk to you. Go do your homework and study for Friday.
Okay, we'll see you then.
That's JC. Join us on the Titan No More Hotline. Take a timeout. Come back. We'll be joined by ESPN's Mike Morgan. And we'll go around the SEC and the nation, get his thoughts on college football kicking off. You're watching and listening to Potter with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate. With premium brands like Escape Apology, Sushi Hunter, Regal Cinemas, Kilwins, Late Macaron, Prime and Pearl, and the HBC's restaurant, Spurrio's Gridiron Grill, where every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 2:30, you can get the hottest brunch in town. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. Coach Spurrier told me they're going to be packed with Utah Utes who rented out the restaurant. So that will be interesting. Let's head to the Titan MR hotline. We're joined by ESPN's Mike Morgan. Good morning, Mike. How are you, buddy?
Morning, Shane. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, Mike's brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Mike, before we get cranked up here, it's game week. I talked about this on a couple of shows I was on this week, and I don't know what took me so long to think about this. You know, everybody is basically saying, how is Utah going to react to the weather, the humidity? Okay.
Yeah.
You broadcast games on Sundays.
Uh-huh.
I started thinking, I was like, in my 14 years, no matter where we played, nobody ever talked about humidity. I mean, yeah, they said it's going to be hot, but you didn't really worry about it. We didn't prepare for it or anything. So why do you think it's such a big deal in college football compared to the National Football League?
That's a great point because, like, if it was such a huge advantage, why have the Dolphins been so bad for so long, right? Is there like a more humid
or the Jags?
Or the Jags. Yeah, I mean, they're more humid places to play, but I've never heard a team all the way back to the Orange Bowl. You know, I grew up going to Dolphin games back in the Orange Bowl when Marino had it going on with the Marx brothers and everything else. I never heard a team leaving after win or loss and going, oh, we just couldn't take that humidity in the fourth quarter. It just wore us down. It's an excellent point because in college, we do hear it all the time. And look, I'm not going to say it's not a factor. Yes, Utah plays in a much different condition in the Pac-12. You know, even those schools that we think of California as sunny. I mean, but if you're out there, and I've done games out there, it is different. It's just not the same type of heat. But I'm with you. I don't think it's going to be a huge factor in this game. I don't think all of a sudden the fourth quarter Utah is going to wilt because of the heat. What you hope is they they wilt somewhat because of what Florida is doing well. But I would caution anybody that thinks that you just look at the brand names and you're like, well, we're Florida and this is just Utah. For whatever reason, Utah has a good thing going on. By the way, Utah had 3 teams finish in the top 25 last year: Utah, BYU, and Utah State, to give you an idea. So whatever they're doing, I've met with Kyle Whittingham. I've done a Utah game. They are comfortable in their own skin, Shane. Like, they know what they're good at. They know who they are. They're not going to beat Alabama and Georgia on recruiting, but they develop players well, and they get their kind of kids in there, and it works. I mean, anybody who thinks Utah is just like a farce, did you watch the Rose Bowl last year? They lost 48-45 to Ohio State. They should have won that game. Cam Rising, when he went to the Manning Academy, people were liking him to Zach Wilson. Like, they think he's a pro quarterback. I'm not sure what Anthony Richardson is yet, because we got a lot to prove there. But I know what Cam Rising is. So this is a very legit team, a very legit program, and a very challenging game.
So within the broadcast guys there at ESPN and the people that you deal with, when they look at this Gator football team, I mean, nobody knows. I've been to practices, and when you practice against each other, you really can't tell anything until you play a game. Mm-hmm. But there's so much excitement, and I just told JC there's so much excitement because of 2 things. Billy Napier coming in, a new coach. There's people excited there, and then Anthony Richardson. But you just said, and I've said it too, we've seen great moments of Anthony, and then you've seen some moments that, quarterbacks make mistakes. That's part of it. But he just hasn't played a lot.
Right.
And I think people want to see what he can do. What is the what do most people think about Florida heading into this season?
Overwhelming ambivalence. Like, they just don't know what to make out of Florida, because if this is the question I like to pose to people in my profession who have a strong take on a particular team, either good or bad. And I say, okay, name me 5 players on the team, right? So they all know Anthony Richardson. Do they know anybody else on that offense? No. Do they know more than a 1 or 2 guys on that defense? No. They're just basing their assessment on Billy Napier, who has a very good track record, and it was a very logical hire. And 2, they've seen the highlight reel of Anthony Richardson. They probably haven't seen the whole game, but they saw, some incredible runs, and they probably glossed over the turnovers and some other things, because that doesn't make a highlight reel. So they know those things. Whereas, and we've talked about the SEC East, it's like everybody and their grandmother's picking Georgia. Everybody's going to pick Vandy last. I don't care if they scored 200 against Hawaii. That's like a 1AA team right now. And they're probably picking Missouri in the 6 hole. But so 2 through 5, how do you handicap that? Well, we know what Hendon Hooker just did in Knoxville. And we know Josh Heupel has a unique offense that gave a lot of people fits in year 1. Don't know if they can play a lick of defense. We know that Shane Beamer has some momentum going at South Carolina, and they just picked up Spencer Rattler, who was a lot of people's preseason Heisman Trophy pick last year. And we know Kentucky's coming off their second 10-win season in 4 years, and they're always like a safe bet under Coach Stoops. So where does Florida fit in all that? They're the I don't know team of that group. They're the I know AR is a special potential talent, but I don't know much else. So I think, Shane, when you talk to people in our building and beyond, there's a whole lot of like, well, I don't know, maybe they're 8-4, maybe they're 7-5, but I really am not sure.
I agree with that assessment for sure. All right, let's. You're on the call for Kentucky, right?
Yeah, Kentucky versus Miami of Ohio, who is predicted to be in the MAC championship game. Like, this is no just easy, just walk in there and blow them out. It's not an FCS team. It's like a legitimate opponent that they're actually going to take on.
And Chris Rodriguez, their starting tailback, is a really good player. He is suspended, I think, for this game. Also, the Florida game. I don't know how long.
Yeah, nobody does.
And I can't tell you how many people are like, well, their starting tailback's out. But Kavasi Smoke is a really good SEC running back.
Yeah, he is. Now, when I was up there for the spring game, for whatever reason, he was in the doghouse. And you know how that goes. Sometimes some of your most talented players don't give you what you want in practice and everything else. And so one of the first questions I'm going to have when we meet with the coaches on Friday in Lexington is where is Cavassier Smoke now? Is he in the good graces again? Because we've seen at times he flashes and he looks awfully good. He's not just a really fun name to say. He's a quality tailback, and they're going to need him because nobody seems to have any idea how long Chris Rodriguez is going to be out. And obviously, everybody wants to know, is he going to be playing in that Florida game? Because Kentucky, for all the hype on Will Levis, and look, I'm a Will Levis guy, so I think it's justifiable hype. He's a special talent, but their offense is not going to be fun and gun. Like, it's just they don't do that at Kentucky. Even with another NFL coordinator, they've opened it up a little bit. But the way they typically win games is not in high-scoring shootouts where they throw it all over the field and rack up 400 yards passing. It's more of a steady dose of ground and pound, play action, pass when you need to, make Will Levis or have Will Levis make athletic plays, and then win games on defense and win them like 24-21. That's their secret sauce. And without Rodriguez, to me, that changes the DNA of Kentucky as a whole. As much as I like Smoke, Rodriguez is the guy. I mean, he's all SEC for a reason. So everybody's waiting to find out when exactly that kid's going to be back in the lineup.
Yeah, Andy's got a Facebook Live here brought to you by Meldon Law. He says, Mike, there are 5 SEC teams in the AP Top 20. How many do you think will be in the top 20 years in, and will the Gators be one of them?
I think that number's about right. You know, I don't. Without looking at that list in front of me, I could probably name who they are. Obviously, you start in the West, and you've got Alabama and you got Texas A&M, and Ole Miss made it, didn't they?
Yeah, it was Alabama, A&M, Ole Miss, Georgia, and Kentucky. Okay. I believe those are the top 5.
Yeah,
I think that's right.
Tennessee's like just on the cusp, right?
I believe so.
I think Tennessee, if they're not like 25, they're right near there. Yeah, I think that number's about right. The harder question for me is that second part. Like, is Florida going to be a top 25 team at year's end? Ole Miss lost a lot. I realize they got a lot in the transfer portal. It's not just that they lost Matt Corral and some key players on that offense. They lost Jeff Lebby. Jeff Lebby, I'm going to be in Norman, Oklahoma week 2. That was one of those under-the-radar poaching of a coordinator deals that I don't think people truly understand how big that is for Oklahoma in a positive way, for Ole Miss in a negative way. It wasn't Lane Kiffin calling all those plays. It was Jeff Lebby. Jeff Lebby was a stud at UCF when he called plays there. He was a stud at Ole Miss for the 2 years. And now I think he's going to be a stud at Oklahoma, and I don't think you just replace him. So I have my doubts whether Ole Miss at the end of the year will be a top 20, top 25 team. Look, with Florida, it again, so much of it comes down to Anthony Richardson. I know that's an easy answer because he's the quarterback. It's the most important position. But look, Shane, we just don't know what we don't know. We just don't know how this kid is going to perform now as the guy. You hope he's going to stay healthy. And again, as you pointed out, he's a big dude. He should stay healthy for 12 games, barring something kind of freakish. And then does he grow? Does he have that KJ Jefferson type of expansion in his abilities and portfolio where he has that breakout season? That's what Florida needs, because Florida overall, from a too deep standpoint, I don't know if there's a ton that scares you. I think there's quality players here and there, but there's also gaps. So they need him. They need AR to make those plays to win. They're going to be involved in a lot of close games, I believe. They need him to make those plays to win those swing games as opposed to lose them.
Yeah, my key to the entire year, Mike, is Anthony being consistent, but having those 4 or 5 explosive plays each game,
right?
And then the front 7 on defense. If they can play halfway decent, they just scares me to death in multiple ways. Coverage from the linebackers, and then getting lined up and getting pounded right at you.
Right.
We're going to find out Saturday if we've improved in that area. I want to get to a couple of the other big games in the conference. Well, we have conference members. You live in Atlanta. Georgia's basically a home game. Dan Lanning, the old defensive coordinator, Bo Nix is the quarterback for Oregon. It's such a weird game. The Oregon Ducks are traveling across country to play the Dogs. How you see this game going?
I think Georgia's too much for Oregon. It's weird, Shane, that the three marquee games, they're, if I'm not mistaken, I have to double check the FSU LSU line, but they're all like double digit games on Vegas, right? Like Georgia's double digit favorite. Notre Dame is a double digit underdog to Ohio State, as they should be. And I think LSU takes care of Florida State. So like those are the sexy games on the slate, but I think actually the more competitive games will be Florida, Utah, Cincinnati, Arkansas. Like to me, I wouldn't sleep on those games as being more competitive. But yeah, it's a great story with Lanning getting his opportunity. And, here's Oregon playing footsies under the table with the Big Ten. And, oh, by the way, they've got a good chance to win the Pac-12. Utah is the favorite, but there's Oregon right there. So I just think Georgia's too much. People will talk about what Georgia lost from that defense. But, again, the way they have recruited, I've said this for a couple of years, Kirby is basically – and he came into Athens with this idea in mind, but a lot of people didn't think he could do it. He has turned it into Alabama 2.0. I mean, the way they have recruited, the consistency in getting dominating players, particularly on the defensive side. They've always recruited running backs well. And the ability to lose key players, but then plug in key players and I won't say not miss a beat. They're going to miss a beat, and I think they will lose a game. But they're still going to be a dominating team, a team that is in all likelihood going to win the East and be a very hard out for anybody. And I just don't think Oregon is ready for that level. It'll be interesting to see a familiar face at quarterback for Oregon that we saw in the SEC, but I just don't see it. I think Georgia wins double digits.
Yeah, I agree. And, one thing I try to tell people, Kirby took over a program that was pretty established.
Right.
It's not like Mark Richt wasn't winning games.
No.
I mean, I think he won 8 or 9 games every year.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a little different than what Billy Napier is taking over. It's going to take time. Let's talk LSU, FSU. I watched Florida State a little bit. I mean, Duquesne is a bad football team.
I didn't even know they had a football team.
I didn't either until, the schedule came out. I knew they played basketball, but not football. And they had a couple guys dressed on their sideline that I don't think ever had put on a uniform. If you saw that picture, yeah. I don't know if did you see it? I did.
Yeah, Lurch, the big tall guy with the jersey going all the way down to his knees.
Yeah, it was
that was a bad look.
LSU and Brian Kelly's debut hasn't announced a starting quarterback yet. We know they have talent. How do you see this game playing out?
I just think LSU is ready. Look, kind of similar to what you just said about when Kirby took over for Georgia. Mark Richt left the program in pretty good shape. In fact, I lived in Atlanta when that move happened, and there are a lot of Georgia fans that were upset. They thought that Mark Richt got a raw deal. They're not saying that now, of course. Well, same thing at LSU in terms of pure talent. Like they got athletes there. They grossly underachieved the last 2 years. There seemed to be a disconnect with Coach Orgeron and the players. You had guys that clearly were healthy enough to play, but they were opting out. It was just bad. It was toxic all around. Brian Kelly is not going to put up with that nonsense. He's not your buddy. He's your coach. And he will instill discipline and kind of, law and order, if you will, around the program. And when LSU is organized and all in, then that's a problem for opponents. So I think LSU takes care of Florida State. I think Florida State is not bad. Florida State and Miami have something in common, is that there's this groundswell of people in our profession. And it's not that they're Florida State fans or Miami fans. They just internally feel like college football is better when those programs are good. And for that matter, they feel like the same way about Florida. They want to see the big three in the state of Florida get back to relevance because it's better for the sport. They have more things to talk about, and they're more excited about things. The problem is the media keeps jumping the gun on Miami. Maybe this is the year with Van Dyke and so on and so forth, but maybe not. They want to feel like Florida State, golly, they're getting out of the doldrums and they're finally – I don't think they're there yet, and I don't think they're ready to beat LSU.
Speaking of Florida State, I'm going to ask you this because this was a staggering stat that Coach Spurrier and I do a show on Tuesdays that he threw out there. Can you name the top 5 winningest programs in college football in the 90s?
Well, Florida State have got to be in there.
Mm-hmm.
I would say Miami is in there.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska.
Uh-huh. One more.
And then the fifth one?
SEC East team.
Tennessee.
Yeah, so think about that.
Yeah.
The 3 state of Florida schools, Nebraska and Tennessee, were the 5 winningest programs in college football in the 90s.
Yeah.
And those 5 right now haven't been relevant.
Isn't that incredible?
I mean, Florida has with, when Urban was here, but it's crazy when you think about that.
Yeah, because you and I are around the same age, so we grew up in that era, and what you remember about that era is you just felt like those programs were built for long sustained success, like maybe a down year, but never a down period. It just seemed like they were, what's the old expression that was used? Too big to fail. Those 5 programs were too big to fail. Nebraska had carved out their niche out in that part of the country, and they were always going to be one of the most physical teams in America. And then they started pulling in kids like Tommy Frazier out of Bradenton, Florida. So now they had speed, and oh my goodness, they're never going away. And then Tennessee had it going on where they were recruiting nationally. You don't have enough players in Tennessee, but from Peyton on, just felt like they weren't gonna fade. And then, of course, the 3 Florida. We all know how many built-in advantages, all 3 of those Florida programs have. There was no way to expect all 3 almost simultaneously getting, I don't want to say bad, but being mediocre by those standards. I never would have seen that coming at all.
No, and the 3 Florida schools in the 90s, if they had the 14 playoff, pretty much every year, 2 of them would have been in it. I mean, it's crazy the way those games
Spurrier would be
went.
sitting on multiple national titles. Multiple.
Yeah. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call, 352-240-1779. Speaking with Mike Morgan from ESPN SEC Network. A few more minutes here. I want to jump into the Cincinnati-Arkansas game. I think it's flying under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
How good is we know Luke Fickell has built a really solid program, but they lost Desmond Ritter, who was like a 3 or 4 year starter. Can they still be really, really competitive against the big boys in this game?
Competitive, yes, but I definitely think that Cincinnati takes a step back because it wasn't just Ritter, who's now an Atlanta Falcon. That defense, that secondary, I mean, they could just lock you up man on man. They had like SEC DBs. Well, much of that secondary has gone on now to the pros. So I don't think they're in reload, status just yet. As great a job as Coach Fickell has done, as consistently good as they've been. No, I don't think so. But that doesn't mean, like I said, I think this is going to be one of the best games on the board, along with Utah, Florida, because I'm not ready to crown Arkansas just yet. Sam Pittman and Arkansas has been a terrific story. They really have. And KJ Jefferson has a chance to be special. He's certainly put up some great games last year, but I'm not all in on Arkansas just yet. Like they could easily take a step back this year. That's more than possible in Fayetteville in year 3 of the Pittman era. So I think it's a competitive game, but I do think Arkansas takes care of business.
Yeah, I do too. The other big game this week, and I just think it is blowout city, and I don't know why. Ohio State hosts Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And just the way Ohio State can throw the ball around, I just don't know how I think Notre Dame, for them to be in this game, Mike, they have to milk the clock, snap it with like 2 seconds left, keep C.J. Stroud and those receivers on the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't see how this game's going to be close.
I don't either. This is going to resemble – it's almost like we're flipping the calendar. This is the kind of matchup when Brian Kelly had a really good team. This is the kind of opponent he would face in the championship game. And what would happen? Notre Dame would be exposed. And where would they be exposed? Well, they're physical on the line of scrimmage. That's never been an issue in South Bend. The problem is overall team speed. And you're going to see a ridiculous level of team speed that Ohio State possesses. And I just don't think Notre Dame's able to keep up. I think Ohio State, if they want to blow them out, will blow them out. If, like you said, if Notre Dame can try and slow the game down and maybe muck it up a little bit, then maybe it's more competitive. But as sexy as the two teams are and as great as this looks on paper, it'll draw a great number on television. I can promise you that. But Ohio State should win this one rather easily.
We got a text on the Titan More text line, which it's working sometimes and sometimes it's not. We're going to get it fixed. But Jim says, or ask, he says, Mike, are you a Heisman Trophy voter? And if so, or if not, who are your preseason Heisman candidates?
I have been a Heisman Trophy voter since 2007. And I will tell you, I take it seriously. If you look on my Twitter account at Morgan on Air, I put, in addition to whatever I do, responsible Heisman voter, because I do. I think if you have one of those votes, you have an obligation to actually follow what's going on nationally and actually know what you're doing before you fill out that ballot. Don't fill the ballot out 3 weeks early just because you're lazy and don't want to wait till after the championship games have been played. Well, we just hit on one of the leaders, and that's C.J. Stroud for sure. Bryce Young, who I voted for last year. I think those two are the clear-cut favorites. We've gotten to the point, Shane, where if you're not a quarterback, and I realize Alabama just had a receiver in Devontae Smith a few years ago that won it, but a lot of things had to go kind of haywire for that to happen. If you're not a quarterback, it's really hard to win this award. That's one. Mm-hmm. If you're not on a really good team, like you're not winning this. So I think George Rogers, when he won it at South Carolina in 1980, they were like a just over 500 team. That's almost impossible to do anymore. And then the other thing is, if you're a defensive player, it's tough. Now, you're going to hear a lot of this is my hot take guy, right? I think Will Anderson's the best player in college football. I don't care anybody says differently. I know Will. Okay, fine. I got you. That's not really a hot take. Like, everybody knows Will Anderson's a stud.
Right.
Everybody knows he's going to be, if not the top pick in the draft, a top 5 pick. We got it. But you don't impact the game as much as a quarterback in your typical today's day and age college football. So I'm not saying Will Anderson won't get votes. I could definitely see a scenario where he'll be on a lot of ballots, including mine. But it's going to take a lot. Like, how can he do more than he did last year from a statistical standpoint, from a sack standpoint, from a TFL standpoint? I don't know if he can win it, but he is an absolute stud. There's no doubt about it. But those are some of the names that I think right off the top are going to emerge as favorites.
All right, last thing before we get you out of here. It's 4 days till kickoff, and we've been talking about their favorite Gators that wore those numbers. Greg says Lawrence Wright, Markway, and Manuel. You got a favorite number 4 for the Gators?
Man, I remember the Lawrence Wright hit on, was it Joey Kent?
I think it was Joey Kent at Tennessee, right?
Yeah. That changed that game. That it wasn't just a great hit. It changed. Tennessee came out really hot. And Lawrence Wright puts that stick on, and the game just completely turned around, and Florida ran away with it. I thought that was one of the biggest tackles in Gator history when you kind of look at it that way. So that's the first number 4 that comes to mind is Wright.
Cedric Faison will be another good one.
Oh yeah, good. Is he still in the league, or is he?
No, he coaches high school ball over in the Jacksonville area.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Last thing. This is the last thing. I don't think you're allowed to pick games or anything like that. Just tell us how you think the Florida game may turn out.
I think the line is correct. I think Utah should be a small favorite. And just based on they come in, they know who they are. They know what they do well. They have an established quarterback. Florida, again, like we talked about earlier, there's just 100 questions floating around that. That being said, there's no question Florida has enough talent where they can win this game. It's in the swamp. If it wasn't in the swamp, I'd say I'm taking
no
Utah.
Chance.
But in the swamp on a Saturday night, game 1 of Napier Air, I mean, I can't imagine how buzz that place is going to be. We need to see the swamp be like the old swamp again. I really think it's a coin toss game. I absolutely think it's a coin toss game. AR cannot be a turnover guy in this game and then just make up for it and win. They have to respect possessions. They have to take care of the football. And if they do, they can try and grind it out. But this is one of the better teams Florida will play all year long. I know they're not in the SEC. I know it's the Pac-12. Ha, ha, ha. they are legit. They go to bowl games every year. They know how to win every year, and they will be a very difficult out. So I wish you had a preseason game to have a better feel for this game. But since you don't, we don't know what Florida is going to look like. Maybe that's part of the fun.
Yep. Let everybody know how they can listen to your podcast as well.
Yeah, so you have your version of JC, which is crazy because I grew up watching John Cornell back in the dorm rooms. Well, I have another guy, JC, who longtime recruiting analyst, used to work for ESPN, now works for 24/7 Sports. So he and I have been doing a college football podcast, JC and Morgan, for the last 4 or 5 years. It's on every available thing out there. It's free. We talk nothing but ball week in, week out. We have great guests. We need to get you on there, Shane. And we just dropped one last night. If you want to tune in and listen, get some insight. It's JC and Morgan is the podcast.
Good stuff, my man. We'll talk to you next week. Have a good call in Lexington, and safe travels, bud.
You got it, bud. Look forward to talking to you next week. Good luck to Florida this weekend in the Swamp. I'm sure it'll be a crazy atmosphere.
It's going to be fun. That's Mike Morgan. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. Hope you enjoyed today's program. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. We'll have Brent Beard, a college football analyst, and we'll do a little Baker Sporting Goods high school roundup. Have a great day, folks.